Week 2 of nurse coaching. We jump right in with a 17-minute breathing exercise. And it was really cool to be able to ground myself. I am kind of a grumpy guy. A lot of the time, I'm a very serious person. For me to, and I have ADHD galore if you have not figured that out even watching a second of me yet. For me to sit down with my eyes closed and try not to move is a really hard thing. I was the kid in class that was always shaking his foot. I'm still the husband in bed driving his wife nuts doing it. But it was a really powerful thing during this breathing exercise. I'll just share one little thing with you from it, which was, I believe his name is Peter, and he's talking to you through it, just kind of talking about your breath, and because your breath is something that is right now. It's in the present. It's not work over the last 6 months. It's not your worries of the next 6 months. It's right here. It's right now. In the middle of all this worry that was starting to consume my mind as my eyes were closed, and I fell into the normal trap, right? The trap of negativity. He says, wellness is not something that happens to us or we receive. It is something that we create by letting go of the things that no longer serve us. Guys, it was so powerful. I didn't really know or recognize the amount of negative thoughts that I had in my head until he said that, and it was like, wait, why am I letting these things be in here? My boss, all these negative people at work, I don't want them in my brain right now. I'm trying to be happy. And I just kicked them out. And I let it go. And then I started thinking about all the things that make me happy. Like this big doofus back here. He is the most adorable giant that you've ever met. And boy, he is a giant. That's a big dog. But it was a powerful thing to be able to, in the midst of me trying to start a small business and do this nurse coaching thing and break out of my traditional career pathway, it can make me feel very stuck. What's the word I'm looking for? It paralyzes me to have all the negative thoughts in work, and it makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel gross. It's hard to feel like the person that I know that I am when I have all those toxic things going through my mind. So to be able to realize, again, to be grounded and reminded that wellness is something that we create. It's an intentional thing. It's not a pill. That's for dang sure. It's not validation of bad things in our life. It's by letting go of things that don't serve us. So, Florence Nightingale is known as the founding, or one of the founding persons of nursing. And this quote is really powerful. May the methods by which every infant, every human being, will have the best chance of health, the methods by which every sick person will have the best chance of recovery be learned and practiced. Hospitals are only an intermediate stage of civilization, never intended, at all events, to take in the whole sick population. This is exactly week 1, everything that I talked about. You are not meant to take a pill and to see a doctor for things that can mostly be avoided with basic diet and exercise. Guys, 60% of all death, not just sickness related death, but literally all death, which most is 70% of which is sickness related because our healthcare system is so poor. 60% can be avoided, reversed, and treated with basic diet and exercise. You're not meant to be in a hospital where the hospital doesn't teach you how to put food on your plate. They'll tell you to avoid red meat. Well, cool. What does that mean? How do you make that realistic in your life? Say you work 16 hours a day. Say you have to pack all your meals. Say you don't know how to cook a good meal because it's not a natural thing. It's not something that you just pull out of your back pocket. I remember this time I tried to make like a natural macaroni and cheese, and I burnt the crap out of the cheese. The cheese wasn't sticking to nothing. It was horrible. And I've had so many experiences cooking something that it was really embarrassing, the outcome. It's a skill and something that you need to be coached through. Or something like dieting where they just tell you to do a calorie deficiency. What about when the cravings start making you insane? How about when you don't feel full after, from experience, eating like a popcorn sized bowl of brown rice and vegetables, because you don't know that protein and fat are what's satiating, meaning it helps you to feel full. There's so much to dieting that is not taught, and they don't teach it in a hospital. My agenda is your agenda. When you go into a hospital or a doctor, the amount of incentive that comes from pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, they don't have your best interest in mind. They think about making money. To an extent, it's somewhat appropriate because they have to have money. I wouldn't say appropriate, it's needed. They have to have money to keep operating. But obviously, when money becomes the primary focus, things start getting very skewed in the treating of your health. My agenda is your agenda. There is nobody paying me to push a specific ideology. That I use my education and my license to help you reach your goals. That's it. There's no incentive from anybody else for me to prescribe or press a certain new, innovative this or that for the sake of making money. It's just you and me. I really appreciate that the program is taking a minute in week 2 to really differentiate between a coach and a nurse coach. Anybody can claim that they're a coach. It doesn't take any certifications, it doesn't take any education, it just takes them saying that they're a coach. As a nurse coach, I have to have a valid registered nurse degree, meaning that I went through arduous and at times absolutely horrible schooling in order to learn the things that I know. Also, on top of the schooling that I've already done to be a registered nurse, I am doing a 16-week certification where I will have to pass 2 different board exams to become a nurse coach and a holistic nurse. This is not just some online program offering you whatever you think that you need in order for me to make money. You can trust that I have the education through proof of my certifications and hopefully through these YouTube videos. I don't think every nurse coach makes videos to really be able to give you the full preview of the things that we're going to be focusing on and things that I prescribe to as a nurse. And I'm so excited to continue down this journey of being the nurse that I always wanted to be, that I thought school was going to teach me to be, but it didn't. Right now in week 2, we're going over the scope of what it means to be a nurse coach. The scope is something that is appropriate for us to really focus on as healthcare professionals. I understand, after getting an education in different pathophysiologies and illnesses and diseases and many different things, that education does play a big role in what you should be able to teach the general public on. I've always wondered, being a nurse coach, so for instance, I went to apply to a boys' school where troubled young men are, and my sister-in-law is a counselor there. And because of my past, I have a passion of coaching the youth and being an inspiration to them, speaking about my past experiences and relating to them and giving them a hope for the future. And immediately her counselor came out and she was like, "Oh no, you nurses stay in your lane." And she said, "You're just there to pass pills." And it was funny to me because that is ridiculous. A lot of what we're going over in week 2 is stuff that we started with in nursing school. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all these deep, meaningful philosophies of life, mind, body, and spirit, and how everything is connected. And science reflects this. If you're stressed and you hate your life, it's equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Your blood pressure is increased, which then leads to kidney damage and all sorts of stuff. So to be going over this information with the actual intention of it being a career is really exciting. I really appreciate the scope difference between a counselor, certified counselor, because some states you just can say you're a counselor and you're a counselor. But between a psych doctor or a psych counselor and our being that in counseling, your goal, you mostly focus on the past and drudging up old traumas and working through what that means for you, and then coming up with the diagnoses for how to deal with it, which is generally with medication, sometimes other guided therapies. Nurse coaching, I've spoke a lot to my wife, many of my friends about ADHD and the diagnostic criteria for ADHD and depression, anxiety, right? So when you go into a doctor and you say that you're anxious, it's like, well, they don't really ask what makes you anxious. They ask more about the symptoms, because we have a healthcare model that is based on treating symptoms. And if they decide that the symptoms outweigh the risks for the medication, which is death, suicide, and many other things, lethargy, kidney damage, liver damage, just an insane amount of stuff, because you're anxious, they'll just hand you a pill. That comes with what's called a F series of diagnostic codes in order to justify, at least in long-term care and skilled nursing. But basically, counseling is, in a lot of ways, just another way for insurance companies and the FDA, the CDC, to justify which medicine they're going to use for you. That is not nurse coaching. I will figure out your trauma, and we'll talk about your past, but not to focus on it, and not to give you a new fancy word for what's wrong with you, but to empower you on how to move forward. I love so much, it's so appropriate for everything that I meant to be as a nurse, that my scope is really to give you the power, the ideas, and the tools to move forward, regardless of your past. That's obviously easier for some than others. And we'll use different tools depending on what your past was. Was it addiction? Was it trauma? Medication? Maybe it's just chronic illness related. Maybe it's obesity that runs in your family. But the beautiful thing about nurse coaching is that I will focus on empowering your future, because I'm here to care for you. When you go to a nurse, you look for answers. I am not there to try to figure out every little thing in your past. We can talk about it. We can come to maybe some conclusions, but I'm not going to say, well, you have depression and there's your way out. I'm going to acknowledge and validate the things that you've been through, and then I'm going to empower you to move forward in your life. And I'm going to give you the tools to treat that sad feeling or those empty holes in your life with holistic nursing. This is why I wanted to become a nurse. This is what it means to care for people. We're getting towards the end of week 2. Let's see what else there is. Jordan Peterson, famous psychologist, I believe the single most sourced, or his name appears in more peer-reviewed psychology journals than any psychologist on the planet. He speaks about when you see a child that is freaking out in the grocery store, and how you have this inherent withdrawal from that child, because you realize that whatever you did in that moment to condemn that child's actions, it's not enough. It's a plethora of stuff that has led up to the child feeling able or justified or to feel a need to act this way. The program reminds me why I want to be a nurse coach, and I've said it a couple of times, but I want to state it clearly. I know for a fact there is a prescribed ideology out there that can prevent, reverse, and treat 60% of all death. It's basic wellness. That is why I became a nurse. That's why I became a personal trainer, is because I have a testimony and I have the scientific facts to support the fact that what I do as a nurse coach, which is to treat you for being a total person, not just a hole for a pill to go down and a symptom that I can treat, but to treat you as a whole person, is the single best thing that could happen to you for your wellness in your life. Pills come with side effects. Polypharmacy, it's you just end up treating the symptom of one drug after another drug. It's a toxic cascade of big pharma making a lot of money off of you. There's a reason we're in an epidemic of chronic illness. It's because of our current system. And similar to the child in the grocery store who is crying and screaming and throwing a fit because they didn't get their candy bar, nobody was there to take time with that child to show them that there's a better way. I want to take the real time with you to teach you wellness. That is why I want to be a nurse coach. You'll notice our initial consultation is 75 minutes. This is not a quick fix. This is real health. This is where we get to root cause analysis of why you're having the issues that you're having, whether it be spiritual, mental, or physical. And then we work out of it. We work out of it in a way that actually addresses the root of the issue so there are no more symptoms. We're not here to just treat a symptom. Well, guys, we're wrapping up week 2. It really just feels empowering to be able to rehearse, to review all of these things that it feels like a pyramid scam, or I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for, where they try to bait you with the things that you want and then it turns into something else. That's exactly what nursing has been. They start with all of this really great empowering stuff in nursing school. Just all this, how we're really going to care for the patient. And slowly it turns into you studying hundreds and hundreds of medications. Not to say that it's not needed, but it just slowly takes you away from the person and turns you into a corporate pharmaceutical insurance machine. It's just the way that our healthcare system is. I'm not trying to spin some giant conspiracy, even though I probably got one. It's just really nice to be reminded of why I became a nurse. And it's not to treat your symptom with a pill that has 100 side effects. It's to care for you, for my patients as a whole. To give the real tools to see happiness come without drugs. To watch you take control of your life with tools in ways that you didn't know were possible. It's a really empowering thing. So at the end of week 2, that's how I feel. I feel empowered. To recap, we went over what it means to take care of a person, because we have to be reminded as healthcare professionals what it means to actually care for a person, not just a symptom. You're not just A, B, C, D and you get lorazepam or loratadine or lisinopril. You're a person with real issues, and those issues can be addressed and it will help everything else. Root cause, guys. End of week 2. Excited to move on. See you next time.